Welcome back to another episode of the Grinds My Gears podcast. I am Ashton Imdari, and here we go. One of the things that I talked about in my last podcast, if anyone actually listened, was, uh, getting the thing back going. One of the things that kind of frustrated me was it became a political podcast where I didn't really want it to be that way. It was just, when I started it, the times of COVID and all that kind of junk happened. It turned into a political one. I had some really great guests on. Um, Melissa Lantzman, Maxime Bernier. So I had some really great guests on, but it became a little bit too much for me because I'm a martial arts guy and all that stuff. So it just wasn't something that spoke to me. I wasn't passionate about, but I do have stuff to say on that, and so figured I'd do it. Now I'm gonna keep this one rather short. One, because I don't want to fucking talk about it that much. Um, on my own, it's my opinion is my opinion, and I'm gonna state it. And also two, I'm drinking some pre-workout right now, so I'm gonna be rocket fuel to go in a minute. So I want to get my training in for the day and take care of my health. But yeah, let's dive right into it. The Canadian federal election is one less than a week away. It's next Monday. I'm recording this on the Wednesday. I'm gonna try to get it out on the Wednesday and get some clips out before. But yeah, it's on Monday, and it's going to be. People are talking about it like it's going to be the most important election of our time. Obviously, they say that every single fucking time there's an election. I have to go out on a limb and say that it is this time. For sure, it's the most important election that I've had in my lifetime, and for a few reasons. Um, the biggest reason I can give you is that we can all agree on whether what side you lead on politically. The biggest reason is just economically, this country's a mess. Um, I don't need to reiterate what all the politicians are saying, but inflation is out of control. Um, the cost of living is out of control. Um, it's never been more unaffordable to live in the city of Toronto or just in Canada. Um, the all the financial um, goals that you were set out when you were young to achieve mean nothing now based upon how the economy has been mismanaged over the last decade. And as a younger person, 35, going to 36 soon, so eek, don't like that. But as a younger person, you know, I'm in a better position than most because I put myself in that position. But you have to think about just everybody in general, not just yourself. Not everybody's in the same position I am in. A lot of people are struggling financially because they're living paycheck to paycheck. You go to the grocery store, like I'll give you a prime example. The other day, my wife is like, let's do some tacos. I'm like, what do we have? Well, we got the meat at the house, and we got some of the vegetables, but we need, the sour cream, some cheese, and the taco shells. So I go to the store, pick up sour cream, cheese, taco shells, and I grab an extra case or extra bottle of salsa. Sorry, nut case. And my bill was $30. $30 for sour cream, a little bit of cheese. I'm lactose intolerant, so it's that little teeny lactose free cheese package. Um, Salsa and taco shells. $30? Are you fucking kidding me? You know what I mean? The cost that Canadians are taking on right now is just astronomical, and it's affecting everybody from people who are doing all right like myself to everybody else. But I wanted to touch on I have a few topics here that I wanted to touch on because I don't want this to be a long podcast. I just kind of want it to be my feelings on certain things and then, just get out. As I said, I'm drinking some pre-workout right now, so I'm about to fucking rocket fuel to the moon and lift some heavy weights and shit. But the first thing, hold on. Rocket fuel. All right, the first thing we have to consider is the narrative that everybody's pushing, whether it be liberal, conservative, NDP, yada, yada, yada. I can go on. But that this is an unprecedented time. I know Mark Carney says it all, and this is an unprecedented time Canadians are facing. It just makes me want to shoot myself in the fucking face. Because what did we do for the last 5 years? Wasn't COVID an unprecedented time? I swear to fucking God, you locked us in our houses, closed our businesses, made life a living hell for everybody, forced vaccinations on people, fired people from their jobs if they didn't do it, forced people to work at home, forced kids not to go to school, ruined kids. Some kids are still ruined from the COVID shit. That was an unprecedented, but because Donald Trump is in office and you don't like him because it goes against the political narrative, and he's doing this tariff shit, all of a sudden it's another unprecedented times. When the war in Ukraine started, it was an unprecedented time. We were on the cusp of World War III. Now we're more unprecedented times simply just because Donald Trump is in office. Let me give you this fucking 411 here, Canadians, because some of you seem to be just dumb as fuck when it comes to this. Donald Trump did not cause the situation that we are in. The situation we are in was caused by dumbassery of Canadians keeping the current Liberal government in for 10 fucking years. And it could have been a conservative government, but the same government for 10 fucking years doing the same stupid shit for 10 fucking years has caused this issue. Not because a man from the United States who just got in office and is doing a whole bunch of things to flex his business muscles are we in this situation. The tariff war couldn't mean shit to me. It's just a bunch of fucking smoke and mirrors. You guys are getting hyped up over absolutely nothing at all. Do you think we're going to actually become the 51st state? That's the fucking stupidest thing I've ever heard. He made it a fucking joke. He was a joke when he started, and you guys started taking it seriously and pushing the narrative and giving him that power, and it became such a fucking big thing. It's not going to happen. So all you dumb cunts waving your "We are Canada's not for sale" fucking signs, Canada's not for sale and never will be for sale. You're just dumb to believe that. He's getting under your skin. That's what he does. Donald does it better than anybody. He gets under your skin. If you didn't learn that from the last 8 years he's been in politics, that he gets under your skin, gets you emotional, makes you emotional. It's simple fighting 101. Make your opponent as emotional as possible and then punch him in the fucking face and knock him out. That's exactly what he's doing. He's making Canadians as emotional as possible so that he can get the 1-2 punch right in when you're not fucking paying attention because you're so emotional. You're not paying attention right now. That's what's happening. That's why the Liberals and Mark Carney are still even in contention for this race, because you're not paying attention. You're getting emotional over something that doesn't fucking affect you whatsoever. It won't affect you. It's smoke and mirrors. If you didn't learn anything from COVID, is every year they give you something new to feel anxious about in the news cycle. Because after the holidays, you're all nice and relaxed, and we have to make the public anxious. Because if we don't make the public anxious, we cannot get them to follow us and do what we say. That's what they want. And you guys all fall for it. We're not living in unprecedented times. We're living in the same fucking 10-year shithole Canada that's been going downhill for the last 10 years. I'll tell you what's going on and what we need to pay attention to. We need to pay attention to the spending. We need to pay attention to how immigration has run out of control, causing a housing crisis in our fucking country. We need to pay attention to how education system has fallen by the wayside, and kids and teenagers don't have any fucking clue what you're talking about, how to manage money, and they have no clue what a real education is, how to learn, why the purpose of going to school. They don't know that, because when they go to school, they'll be taught all these fucking woke agendas and all this lefty loon shit, right? You're supposed to go to school for higher learning. You're not supposed to go to school for brainwashing, and that's what the education system has become. And that's a focus that we should be focusing on too in this election, but we're not. We need to be taking all of these things into account. It's not unprecedented times. That's a lie. That's something that you use to manufacture anxiety within you to get political points for their talking points to make them seem legit. Glad I got that off of my chest. So there's obviously a lot more going on when it comes to this Canadian federal election. One of them being the polls. They're a lie. Quite frankly, they're a lie. And if you believe them, you're kind of silly. There might be one or two legitimate pollsters who are doing a good job, but I had a chance one night, not too long ago, maybe about 3 weeks ago. I just couldn't fathom it. I couldn't fathom how just 3 months ago the Conservatives were polling at a super majority government, and then like the whole situation was so anti-democratic, it's not even funny, and nobody's questioning it. Trudeau prorogues Parliament. For those who don't know what prorogue mean, I don't even know what it fucking means. It sounds like pierogi, but prorogue. It basically means they don't sit in Parliament, which is anti-democratic. Parliament should be able to set whenever the fuck the people want it to be set. It shouldn't be up to politicians when Parliament sits. It should be up to the people. If the people want Parliament to be sitting, they should be sitting. That's what we pay them for, and that's where they should be. They should be sitting in those fucking seats, figuring out policy day in, day out. They don't get time off. I'm sorry. I don't give a shit if you think you deserve. Yeah, I'm a human. I deserve time off too. No, you're getting more money paid to you from the taxpayers than any fucking person on this planet. You work and you work your ass off for us all the time. That's the deal. You don't get time off. You don't. Simple as that. You want to be a leader? You don't get time off. I'm a head coach of a gym. I don't get fucking time off, man. I'm a leader. You want to lead? You want to lead people? You want to lead a group of people for a specific task? In my case, it's fighting and martial arts. You don't get time off. That's what comes with being a leader. You get a day off here and there. That's it. But fuck you. These guys are getting paid a shitload of money. They don't get a fucking day off. They need to sit in Parliament and figure this shit out because the country's a fucking mess. Anyway, he prorogued Parliament, and then they did this little leadership change because he was polling so low. And this Mark Carney character comes in to save the day, and all of a sudden the polls go from, super majority to them losing. How the fuck does that make sense? Tell me how that makes sense, and I'll shut the fuck up. It doesn't make any sense. What it makes sense is that it was media manipulation in the first place. It was media manipulation, and all of it is media manipulation. Here's the deal. The polls are misrepresentative. I looked into it. They'll get me for misinformation and disinformation. So there's different pollsters, there's Nanos, there's whatever. The one that I look at, to me, that's the most accurate is Main Street. It looks like it's the most unbiased polling, but the rest of them, they're polling, and they're all biased. They're overrepresenting Atlantic Canada, Ontario, and I believe British Columbia, but they're overrepresenting. They're not a representation. Who are they polling? I've never been asked to poll. I've never been asked these questionnaires. These questionnaires, if you look at some of the questions, they're ridiculous. They're all biased questions, and they're all pointed towards one thing. I forgot. It might be Abacus or Nanos. One of those dudes flat out said that Pierre Poilievre will never be his leader. And he'll never win the election. It's clear bias. They're manipulating you. Here's the deal, and here's what I always kind of view of polls. Polls are meant to manipulate the weak-minded and the swing voter, because there are people who are genuinely, and they're entitled to this, who don't know which way they want to go in terms of how they vote. Polls are meant to sway swing voters and discourage dumb people, for lack of a better sense. If your poll says the Liberals are winning by 15 points and you're a dumb person and you believe it, and you're like, well, then what's the point of me voting? I'm not going to do it. They're going to win anyway. And yeah, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to discourage some people from voting who would typically go to the poll and vote Conservative, because they give them that illusion that it's kind of lost already, and it's not. It definitely is not. The polls are definitely lying. They're definitely lying. If you look at the U.S. and what just happened in the U.S. elections, the polls said the same thing. It's kind of the blueprint. They switch out the candidate at the last minute. It says now, oh, this new candidate's going to do a lot better. The new candidate's polling higher than the opposition, and then big old Donnie T went and slapped that and took that by a landslide. Will that happen in Canada? I don't know, because you look at some of the more reliable sources for betting, and there's Polymarket and a couple of those betting places. They're flying high from Mark Carney. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't believe it. I don't think that people are that stupid, but I have been proven wrong. Canadians have proven me wrong for stupidity in the past. So maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But it's just, here's what I would say. Don't listen to the polls. Do your own independent research into who you think is a better candidate that represents your values and your family, and pick them. Don't listen to the polls. Don't look at the polls and say, oh, this guy's up, this guy's down. Maybe I should vote for him because of the polls say this. They're never telling you the truth. It should be based upon your family's values and what you think the country needs. That being said, I'm going to move on to the next thing that I wanted to talk about, and that was something that more relates to what I do and my business. And I'm in the business of healthcare. Whether it be private training lessons or the academy that we run, we take care of people's health. That's healthcare. Now, what they're pitching to you, and they always do this, is we need more doctors. Healthcare is a big fucking problem. Yada, 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 yada. Okay, here's the deal. First of all, it's not healthcare, it's sick care. What you're looking at is, when I have a problem, where do I go? It's sick care. You don't go to a doctor and they say, hey, I'm feeling great. Well, what else should I do to keep feeling great? You go to the doctor when there's a fucking problem. Right? And I'm not against doctors. I love doctors. Tons of doctors in the family, tons of doctors that train with me, yada, yada. Doctors don't want to see you when you feel good. Doctors don't want to see you when you feel off. Doctors want to see you when you're sick and you absolutely need help. The problem with free healthcare is it's accessible to all, which is great. I think that's one of the things that sets Canada apart from a lot of other countries, is that you do have accessible healthcare, but when things are that accessible, it's also abused. What does that mean? It means you have people, and I'm not going to say their names, but there's people very close to me who their kid falls, their wrist hurts, and they take them to the ER. Your kid has a fucking sprained wrist. Take them home, throw some fucking ice on it, give it a week or two, they'll be fucking fine. Instead, you just wasted valuable doctor time to tell them it's a fucking sprained wrist, take an Advil, children's Advil, and you're going to be fine. People are going into the hospital or for emergencies, for flus, all sorts of stuff. You want to start getting rid of the backlog in healthcare, make it a priority. That if you go in for a simple thing that doesn't require a doctor to write prescriptions or do anything of that sort, you actually have to pay for that visit. It will deter so many stupid visits to the doctor's office. You would be dumbfounded. How many more people won't go see the doctor for dumbass shit that can just be taken care of at home? Because it's accessible, and because it's so accessible and it's free, and it should be accessible, and it should be free. That's another argument to have in a different conversation. I don't think all of it should be free, but it should be free. But in this case, if you have a problem that you go to the doctor for that is deemed unreasonable, you should have to pay for it, right? You should have to pay for the visit. If you go in and your child has a simply sprained wrist or bruised whatever, and people take their kids in for that shit. They do. I'm a parent. I know. How many times I've panicked because, like, my son, when my son gets sick, he gets really congested in his chest. And it's hard for me to watch him as a father, like, breathing so heavy. Like, Jesus Christ, is this kid going to stop breathing? And everything in me wants to just take him to the hospital. and so he can get fixed, and so they can take care of him. It's my son. I'm a dad. That's my son. But then I think about, give him some time. We did the right things. We gave him some medicine. We need to get his body to fight off whatever this is. Give it some time. If it progressively gets worse to the point where I'm absolutely super concerned for his well-being, that my kid's gonna die, then I'm gonna take him in. But until then, I give him some time, and lo and behold, you give him the night, you give him 2 nights, he's fucking better the next day, right? Most people will take their kids in for that, and that's why we have such a bad healthcare issue, is because of that overuse and abuse of a free system. Now, here's where I'm going to go into this politically, is that all of them are preaching, we need more doctors, we need more nurses, we need more of this, we need more of that, we need more funding, we need to put more money into it, yada, yada, yada. Not one of them is saying, how can we prevent people from getting these diseases, from getting these illnesses, from getting these sicknesses? Not one of these candidates, not one, even Pierre. And I don't even really, he's my preferred candidate, but I don't think he's the right guy for any job. I don't think there's a right guy for any of the leadership jobs that they're the candidates right now. But not one of them says they're going to ban processed food. Not one of them says they're going to tax companies that are putting red dye 40s and all this kind of crazy shit into our foods and in our healthcare products that are making our children and ourselves sick. Not one of them said they're going to stop corporations from putting construction adhesives in breakfast cereals. Not one of them said that they're going to stop sugars from being put into all these different food products that are causing obesity in our children. Not one of them said they're going to stop any of this. Not one of them stopped this. Not one of them said they're actually going to stop the real health problems. They all just said that we're going to hire more people and spend more money so that when you are sick, we'll take care of you. Instead of saying it's our responsibility as a government to make sure that the things that you are buying, consuming, and the things that you are using on every day are safe. And that's not what they're doing. They're telling you we're going to keep letting these people, these companies, pump these chemical toxins into everything. And we're just going to provide the sick care for you. When you get sick, we'll take care of you. How does that make sense? Make it make sense. That's healthcare. That's the state we come into. And I don't know. You can make the argument for RFK in the U.S. and not, but when they're banning these toxic chemicals, when autism rates are through the roof, I'm going to give a little case study that me and my wife did at home when we noticed this, okay? So occasionally we'll go to some family's houses, and family likes to treat their children. So the family will give our kids all sorts of goodies, stuff that we don't buy for our kids. So what do I mean by that? I mean by, packaged, sugary, delicious products, Rice Krispies, all that kind of shit. We don't buy it for my kids. My kids I've never bought breakfast cereal for my kids. If they have had breakfast cereal, it's been a one-off treat, and it's something that somebody else buys them. We don't buy breakfast cereal because what's in it is terrible. So when my kids wake up in the morning, they're not heavy eaters in the morning, so we don't force big breakfast on them. What they normally eat is some sort of fruits. My son likes vegetables, so he'll eat vegetables. We try our best to get proteins in them, but like I said, they're not heavy eaters in the morning, and I'm okay with that. As long as they have something to get them going. So normally it's some sort of granola, fruits, and my son, like I said, my son likes vegetables. Now what we notice is when they start getting these treats from grandparents, parents, friends, whatever, aunts, uncles who buy them and give them stuff, they'll start eating it, and their behavior will change drastically to the point we have to get really, really strict on them and discipline them heavily because of their behavior. The evidence was there. We took it away. Behavior got better. We gave it back. Behavior got worse. This process has repeated a few times, and me and my wife come to the conclusion that it was the stuff and the chemicals that are in the food that is changing their brain chemistry to make them more emotional to certain things. So we notice that when they are eating the right foods and not processed foods, not crazy stuff, when I say take that off, turn that off, do this now, they do it. When they are eating all those different things, those chemicals, when I say take that off, turn that off, clean that up, they argue, they fight, they get emotional, and things get out of hand. The food and the chemicals that they're pumping into the brain are changing the children's behavior. We have noticed this as parents, so we put a stop to it. And that's not, if you want to improve healthcare, when I'm looking at a political candidate, that is what I'm looking for. Someone who actually wants to stop the problems at the root cause and not just fix it when it happens. All these politicians are talking about fixing it after it happens. We're going to hire more doctors. Guess what? There's not that many fucking doctors available, you dumb fucks. Right? You think that there's like, we're going to hire 1,000 more. You think there's 1,000 just lining up for fucking jobs right now? No, they're finding jobs in other places. They're going different places where they're getting paid more. There's not 1,000. And there's not 1,000 that want to do the shitty fucking family healthcare practices that you guys are proposing. It's simple as that. They don't want to do it. So the very notion that that's good, that's healthcare is outrageous. That's not healthcare. That absolutely is not healthcare, and we need to hold our candidates to that. They need to know that that's not healthcare, and they need to know that you can't just say, hey, we're going to hire a bunch more doctors and nurses and it's going to fix the problem, because it's not. It's just going to make the problem worse, and it's actually going to probably cause higher healthcare costs and in turn cause higher taxes, etc., etc. The next kind of point, I want to wrap this up soon. Half an hour was my kind of goal. Because like I said, politics is not my forte in terms of what I like to talk about, but I wanted to touch on a few points, that we had this election come up. Policy is obviously a big one. And policy and spending going to go hand in hand. So I think at this point now, all the candidates have put out their platforms and their policies and what they're proposing to do should they get elected. And what it boils down to this. We are in a position where they are pitching to you all these things, the crisis with the U.S. and Donald and all, and in crises you need to spend money, etc., etc. Yeah, just like in the crisis of COVID, you gave a bunch of fucking free money away to people, and it caused a huge hyperinflation and put us in this situation in the first place. For those who not know what I'm talking about, it's the CERB. That was a fucking disaster. Spending more money to fix this problem is not the answer. Spending less money to fix this problem is the answer. Cutting back on government, cutting back on MPs. There's too many of them to do useless jobs. They shouldn't be paid the amount they're paid. They don't work. They don't work like me and you. They don't get up and they don't grind like me and you. They're not talking to their constituents. They're lying. Their meetings are full of catered fucking food and all these kind of things. They're lying to you. They're not working. They're not working like me and you. That's a big fucking lie. Right? So we need to cut back on that government spending. MPs, all that bullshit. It needs to be cut back significantly, heavily, and needs to be gone. We need to fix the crises that we have at home. That means foreign aid, foreign spending, money to Ukraine. I'm sorry. I have a lot of Ukrainian students that train with me here, and I've expressed this to them. We gave you guys, but the world has given you billions of dollars, and the war's still going on. The war is not ending. The war is not ending because the war doesn't want to be ended. There's too many people making a whole lot of fucking money for that war to be ended. Foreign aid from Canada needs to be fucking eliminated for the time being until we get our shit in order financially, because I'm tired of paying other people's bills. Right? We need to look at the policies of these people and I say, hey, you are spending way too much fucking money. Out of all the people that are there and of all the people that are pitching their policies, the best one The best one is simply, it's hard to deny it. It's hard to deny it when you look at the policies. It's very hard to deny it. But the best one is Pierre's platform, and it's still not even that good. They're still spending way too much fucking money. Way too much of my fucking money. Way too much of my fucking money. Right? They're still spending too much money. But the best platform you have to look at is Pierre's. What are we going to do? What do we need these things to be fixed? Okay, we need this financial crisis to be fixed. It's not going to be fixed by spending more money. It's going to be fixed by keeping more money in our pockets, keeping our government more accountable. And it's going to be fixed by we need houses. The housing market is out of control. For those younger people, the younger voters there, if you're on the fence, I know like there's the woke stuff and all that kind of stuff. If you're on the fence, man, you're looking at look at someone like me. I'm only now thinking about getting involved in the real estate game. I have investments in other stuff that I like to do, and I'm going to share on some of those in later podcasts. But I've been staying away from that market because it's been just ridiculous. It's ridiculous to own a fucking home in the city of Toronto. It's supposed to be the biggest, most vibrant city in Canada. You're paying 1.2, 1.5 for a fucking rectangle. On top of that, they steal money from you. They charge you for property tax. You buy the house. You own the property, but you got to pay tax on top of it. Bullshit. You buy the house as a sales tax. You sell the house as a sales tax. There's a land transfer tax. There's fees. There's buying property in Canada is almost fucking stupid. And some people will argue with me, oh, yeah, you build wealth, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, great, congratulations. But you've been stolen from every single time you made a transaction here. It's fucking outrageous. And if you're thinking about how can I ever be involved or save enough money to get, you can't. You physically can't. The statistics are showing it takes you like 30 years to save up for a down payment based upon how inflation is and how things are going in this country right now. You can't, as a young person, justify that. How the fuck can you justify that? Right? You need to look at your future and you need to look at what these guys are asking Planet to do. Like, they're all saying they're going to build homes. Well, the Liberals had 10 years to build homes. They didn't fucking build any homes. Right? Now we need someone to actually fucking do it. We need someone to get that under control. Build those homes so that the market gets saturated with new things, new homes, prices can go down. Here's the other issue. There's too many fucking people in this country. Immigration is out of control. Now, I'm a son of an immigration parents. My wife's, parent, they immigrated from England. Her grandparents immigrated from there. At some point we're all immigrants. So I'm not gonna sit here and rag on immigrants. I have a lot to say about it, but like I said, I don't want this to be a long podcast. Immigration's out of control. There's way too many fucking people getting into this country for absolutely nothing. Not pulling their weight, not doing their fair share, not paying their taxes. Here's the deal. You can't come here if you're not willing to work as hard as we are and pay the fucking taxes we're paying. You can't. The gravy train's got to end somehow. And it's got to end now. People got to stand up now or it's not going to, my parents came here. Kudos to them. We don't agree on a lot of stuff, but we can agree on this. They came here and they assimilated to the Canadian culture. Right? This country has changed so much since I was a kid. I'm a natural born and raised Canadian from immigrant parents. My parents came here, adopted every tradition. We celebrated Christmas, celebrated Easter. They did everything that you should do. This is the Canadian way. This is the Canadian country. And they adopted and assimilated their culture here. And now that doesn't mean they didn't do anything from their own culture. They still did. But the way I was raised I was raised as a Canadian. And that Canadian identity, the truth of what it is to be a Canadian has changed because of the amount of immigration that they've led into this country. I no longer recognize the Canada that I live in. And I grew up here. And I no longer see this as the same place that I call home. It has changed that much. When you come to Canada, you come here for a better life. You don't come here to change the country. And if you're coming here to change the country, then I think it's about time that the Canadians who were born and raised here say it's time that you leave. Right? I don't want to say that. I want everybody to be able to come here and stay and live a healthy, happy life and have the same Canadian dreams and values that I had growing up. But that's not the case. When you come here and you try to change the Canadian values, you want to change it to what you came from, you tried to get away from that, but you're trying to bring it here. That's not going to happen. And it can't happen. And the governments are allowing it to happen because they're trying to buy votes. And we need to stand up and say that can't happen anymore. Right? When you come here so that because you see a way for your family to get a better life. Doesn't mean you need to get rid of your culture or your ways of living that you did there over there, but you need to come here and you need to adopt our ways of living and our culture. You can still do those things you love to do, but you can't do all of them and throw ours away. When you move to Canada, our culture comes first. The place you came from's culture comes second. It's just how it is. That's how my parents did it. They did it right. That's how a lot of immigrants back in the day did it. They did it right. And now it's saying you can come here and bring all your emotional drama from over there over here and complain about it. No. You want to come here, you want to live in our country, you want to do all the things that we do, you want to share in the freedoms, and you want to share in the ability to wake up every day and not have bombs come on your house and not have people steal from you and not etc., then you have to adopt our way. That's just how it is, right? We need to hold our immigration system accountable so that when people immigrate to this country, they pay their fair share. I don't care if you are a permanent resident or on a visa or whatever. If you are living here, if you are in this country, you pay a tax just like we pay tax. Because my tax dollars are not going to fund your life. My tax dollars are there to help this country grow, not another country, not somebody else's war, not some agenda that you put in fucking Africa or whatever. My tax dollars are to fix the problems we have here. And if I have to pay them, then you have to pay them. If you want to come here, you got to pay tax at the same rate I pay tax. Fuck it. You don't get a tax break because you're permanent resident or on a visa or whatever. No, if I have to pay, you got to pay. You want to make this whole thing about being fair share and equal rights and equal equality, everyone with equality, then pay your fucking tax. If I have to pay that astronomical tax that I just finished paying tax for my business, it's fucking astronomical. If I have to pay that, you got to pay that. You don't get off the hook because you're not a fucking citizen. If you want to be a citizen, you got to pay that tax. And if you aren't a citizen yet, but you're living here, you got to pay that tax. Nobody gets a free ride anymore. And that's how we can start eliminating this problem. Anyway, that's my take on the Grind My Gears podcast. So I'm going to conclude it like this. Here's how I'm going to conclude it. Who's the best candidate? For fuck's sakes, I don't know. But I'm going to tell you this. If you don't vote for the Conservatives, you're fucking retarded at this point. Is Pierre the right man for the job? Probably. I don't think he's everything I need him to be. There's a lot of stuff that he's very playing political grounds on to win political points and to not say something to alienate a couple, like stance on abortion and all those things as a Christian that concern me. He hasn't taken a stance on that, but he's the best option we have. And if for some reason the Liberals weasel their way into another fifth term, Canadians are that fucking dumb to elect them, and guess what? Get ready for a rough ride. It's going to be very bad. It's going to be very bad. So, Pierre needs to keep doing what he's doing. I wish he did a little bit more. He's a little bit too light-footed on some of the subjects that I need him to be in, but I think he's the right man to make this change. I don't think there's ever going to be a right candidate for the job, but at this point in time, he is what needs to happen. He is a change that Canada needs. I said this years ago when I first heard him talk. I told my wife, if he does get in, This was about 5 years ago when I first kind of heard him talk. If he does get in, the way he speaks, the way he carries himself, I would stay in Canada for a little bit longer. And I still feel that way. If he does get in, if Canadians make the right choice, vote for that change that needs to happen, and he holds his end of the bargain on about 80% of the things that he's talked about, I will keep my roots planted for the time being. But if he doesn't, it's time to uproot me and my family and make plans, because Canada will not be the Canada I grew up in, and it's not going to be the place that I can call home for the rest of my life. And it's as simple as that. And I think there's a lot of other people my age who feel the same way, and that's a shame. So get out, vote, let the democratic process go through. I don't trust it. I don't believe in it anymore, but it is all we have. So get out and vote, do your thing. We'll see what happens. And hopefully next time we have a conversation like this, things look like they're getting better. And I hope so. I have some sort of faith, but I also don't have faith in Canada after the last couple of years. So we'll see where it happens, and we'll see where it goes. But that's been another Grind My Gears podcast. I got it out. That's going to be the last one I do on this kind of shit topic for a while. But it's glad to be back, get to do this stuff. I'm going to try to do it weekly as much as I can. I'm not going to be editing clips and all that kind of stuff as much. I'm just going to be pumping out the episodes and getting clips out, when I got time. But it's a pleasure. I know that some people give me some great feedback, and they're glad that I'm back, and we're gonna get some cool guests. I'm gonna get some guests on too. I love the solo series because it allows me to just pump out some content and get it out here. But we're gonna have some cool guests, some lines of people. Some people have already started talking to me and asking me to come on. I'm gonna see if I can do my first live one with a person right here. I don't know how I'm gonna film it because I have limited shit, but we'll get it done. That's it for another episode of Grinds My Gears. Thank you for listening. Peace out. Go vote.